Hi, my name is Jim Cravens, and I'm one of the people who worked on Together for Lincoln, and still pumped up about the success of the event and the opportunity for Christians to work together for Lincoln. At the outset of the project, I was kind of skeptical and nervous about all the details and the things that we had to accomplish in order to make this happen. And as it began to pull together, I was impressed by the different skills that individuals brought and the tasks that got accomplished. And who could not be impressed by the end result? With over 1,000 volunteers and projects all over town, it was really quite a marvelous event. My job primarily during the project was to see that materials were available for the different projects, and I spent most of that Sunday answering phones at a warehouse where we had supplies and seeing that deliveries could be made when people were short of this or that supply. And the thing that was most memorable for me was getting in my truck and driving to different work sites and seeing Together for Lincoln crews all over the place, picking up trash. You could see the orange-shirted project leaders in yards directing people. And wherever you went, there was evidence that people were working together here in Lincoln for Christ. For me as a pastor, it's been extremely gratifying to see the different congregations in Lincoln pull together and do something in the name of Christ. I think too often Christians worry about the things that tend to divide and forget what we have in common. Dustin called that our greatest common denominator, which of course is Jesus Christ and his life among us. And we had such a diverse group representing the broad spectrum of Christians here in this community, and it was just a genuine pleasure to work with them, to do the preparations, to see the actual project come to fruition, and then especially to worship together as the body of Christ. I hope we can continue doing this, and that we've only just begun, and that there'll be many future opportunities for us to work together as Christians in this community.
Sunday afternoon, I was working at a house for Together for Lincoln, and we were just standing around and sitting around because we had some supplies that we needed to be delivered. But there was one teen at the site that wasn't standing around or sitting around. He was looking around. And he looked across the street, and there was an older couple over there building a deck on the front of their house. And he walked across the street and he struck up a conversation with the man. Now, I don't know what he said, but pretty soon the man smiled, and the teen and the man's wife walked around to the side of the house. And pretty soon the teen comes up carrying these long boards. So he keeps carrying these long boards from the back of the house to the front of the house. And two men on the Together for Lincoln site saw that, walked across the street, and helped him carry all the boards up to the front of the house. And then about that time, the supplies for the Together for Lincoln house arrived, so those two men went back across the street to try to get this house done. But the teen didn't. He stayed over with that older couple to help them work on their deck. And she had 4 bushes in the front of her house that needed to be transplanted because of the deck going in. And so he dug those bushes up, and the ground was really hard, and he worked hard, and he dug those bushes up. And about this time, his mom showed up with dinner. And he continued to work and eat his dinner at the same time because he wanted to get this done because it was almost 5 o'clock. Well, when the mom showed up, his 2 younger brothers jumped out of the car and went up to try to help, and they started digging the holes for where the plants are going to be transplanted to. And so by this time, I was over there. And I struck up a conversation with the lady, and she explained to me that her and her husband had both had open heart surgery, and so they couldn't do too much, and they had to take it easy. So I asked her, do you have any idea what's going on all over Lincoln today? And she didn't know why there were a whole bunch of people across the street putting siding on that house. And so I explained to her what Together for Lincoln was. And when I told her that it was like 13 churches that came together to do these service projects throughout the town, she said something like, that's what churches need to be doing. Those people need to be out helping people because people need help. So I invited her to the worship service that we were having that night. Now, I don't know if she showed up to the worship service, but I sure invited her and let her know that she was welcome to come. So as we sat there, I asked her, I said, would you like help with your deck? Now, we probably don't have time to do it today, but I know in the next few weeks we could get people over here to help you finish your deck. Well, her husband was listening in on the conversation, and I didn't realize that. And he spoke up then. He said, no, that's okay. I can finish the deck. I just have to work slow. And the look on the lady's face, I could tell that she didn't agree with that, but I thought, I'm not going to pursue that conversation anymore. So anyway, as we were talking, she pointed out her neighbor's house, and she said an older lady lives there. And she goes, and her gutters need cleaned out really bad, and it was very apparent they needed cleaned out because there were trees growing in them. And she said, but my husband and I can't do it because we can't climb the ladder. So just like that, Together for Lincoln lives on beyond September 28th because my family and I are going to go clean out that lady's gutter. And all of this started because Tanner Smith walked across the street.
Hi, I'm Emily Brown. I'm an LD resource teacher here at Jefferson Elementary, and I would just like to say thank you personally for doing such a great job. We came back and the kids were out on the playground and we saw all the new painting and they were so excited, and they looked up and they said, Miss Brown, the basketball hoops are gone. And I said, yeah, I don't know what they're doing. And the kids came up and they ran up to me and said, somebody's making us new ones. And they were so proud to have such a great school and come to a school that's so nice to play in. We also had our workroom painted, and I will say it's such a nice environment now to go in and run copies, and it's all white. It used to be a dark dungeon and it's not anymore. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
One of the visual images that'll always stay with me for Together for Lincoln was a jungle gym at Jefferson School that was being renovated by our volunteers, and part of what they did is they painted the connecting pieces that joined the bars together in different colors. And as they were doing that, you could see this collage of colors emerging from what had been a pretty bland piece of equipment before. And now if you look at that, there are yellow, red, green, blue colors all in one piece of equipment. And as I saw that, it suggested to me what the body of Christ is all about. Each of us brings something unique, our own experience, our own shades of interpretation, our different liturgies, our different practices, but we bring them together to be the church. And it'll be impossible for me to drive by that jungle gym without recalling the fact that we did that as the body of Christ on that day. We pulled together, brought all of our colors to one place, and put something together that was much more complete than any of us individually.